Write these 3 things down, or remember them, or get your cell phone out, because they will and can change your life and change the world. Ready? Ready? Number 1, you are more powerful than you think you are. You are more powerful than you think you are. Number 2, what you believe is exactly what you become. What you believe is exactly what you become. And finally, lastly, finish strong. Finish strong. I have been obsessed with storytelling since I've been born into this world. And we as human beings have been telling stories for thousands and thousands of years. I stand on the stage today in front of all of you, telling you that storytelling, stories are evolving. They are changing. We are living in a dramatic time. I don't know if you remember those books. They might still have them, the Choose Your Own Adventure books. You remember those where you could flip through, and on page 16, you could follow the hero to page 64, and then to 102, you could choose your own adventure. We are obsessed with stories like Alice in Wonderland, Harry Potter, The Hunger Games, because we see ourselves stepping into that story and into that adventure. I'm here to tell you today that the stories we are telling are bringing you into a 4D world where you interact with the story. Our neocortex in our brain is gigantic. It's huge. And the neocortex is responsible for sociability. We love to socialize, to communicate. That's why social networking has taken off. That is why we watch reality television and vote for the next American Idol. That's why we play video games with other people in an avatar world, because we want to be a part of this adventure, of this life. I'm here to tell you today that you are more powerful than you think you are, because you have the opportunity to step into the story of your life. I'm going to ruin every Hollywood movie you will see from here on out, okay? So I'm just prefacing that with an apology. But from Bridesmaids to Avatar to Titanic, they are all the same. They sit into the same exact formula. I know because I went to film school. I studied this for a long time. It's a really simple formula. You know what they call it? They call it the 3-act structure. 3 acts, every single movie you've ever seen. Okay, the first act, let's just take Wizard of Oz, because I'm assuming we've all seen it. The first act, you have Dorothy in Kansas. What is she wishing? To go somewhere over the rainbow, right? She's like, I want somewhere extraordinary, something beyond this farm. At the end of the first act, in every single movie, there's this thing that happens. They call it the Inciting Incident. It's really just a big name for a problem, right? A problem happens. What happens to Dorothy, right? A tornado literally picks up her house and brings her to a different land, right? That's the problem, right? So the second act, we're now in Act 2, is how is she going to overcome the problem? How is she going to get back home, get back to this place that she came from? Act 2 is filled with characters and challenges. Can she actually do it? And she was told that the Oz, the great and wonderful Oz, could return her home, right? So she meets with Oz, right, at the middle of the second act, and she says, how can you get back home? You know what he tells her? He says, bring me the broomstick of the Wicked Witch of the West. And the Wicked Witch of the West is nasty. She's got all those monkeys. You remember this? And at the end of the second act, right, she's like in the tower because, you know, the Wicked Witch captured Dorothy and brought her to the tower, and she's like, N-E-M. And the Wicked Witch is like, N-E-M, I'll get you, right? And her friends are outside, and they're banging down the castle, and they're in disguise trying to rescue her. And she's trying to do what Oz told her. Bring her the broomstick of the Wicked Witch of the West. That is her mission. And in every single story, every single movie you've ever seen, there is a resolution, which is the third act. If you're Shakespeare, you kill everyone, and it's a tragedy. But most movies, there's a wedding, they're reunited, everyone's happy, you get your job back, it stops raining, right? There's a resolution. I'm here to tell you today, you and I in this room are living out the 3-act structure of our lives. Right now, here, today, and tomorrow, and the next day. Most of us in this room think, oh, when I'm 30, I'll do this. When I'm 40, I'll have achieved this. Your life is now. It's starting today. Welcome to it. You have about 60 to 70 good years left, okay? What are you going to do with those years? The time is ticking. I see the clock. It is ticking away. What are you going to do with that? I don't know if you heard, but about 30 days ago, our President Barack Obama, the leader of the free world, sent 100 advisory troops to Central Africa to help stop the world's worst war criminal from committing crimes against the children, the invisible children of the world. 100 advisory troops he sent there to remove Joseph KONY from the battlefield, Africa's longest running war involving child soldiers. This came as a direct result to a girl named Lisa Dugan. She's our Dorothy in this story, okay? She is in Amish country, 2,000 people at her college, okay? And she gets this DVD called Invisible Children, and she watches it in her dorm room. She says, after I finished the film, I felt I was stepping into the story. I felt responsible for the story's ending. And so she took to the streets, and she rallied thousands of her friends to sleep in the streets to petition that our nation do something for these children. That's what she started to do. And that was her inciting incident. She saw the problem, and she stepped into the story larger than herself. She thought she was going to be a teacher. And that's exactly what she did. She came to San Diego, and she started teaching all of our volunteers that go out on the road, and they share the stories with high schools and colleges across the nation. Her thing was, I don't want signatures, I don't want emails, I don't want things like that. I want to change the hearts and minds of this nation, of this world. That's what she wanted to do. And she decided to move to Washington, D.C. and pursue a bill that would mandate the Obama administration to send advisory troops to Central Africa. And she started devising the bill, and it came to fruition. The bill existed, but there was one senator who was holding it back. So she flew herself to Oklahoma, because that's where the senator was from, and she slept outside of his office in February, freezing cold. This is way before Occupy Wall Street, people. This is like the real deal, I'm telling you. So she sits out there with about 30 friends for 11 days in the freezing cold, until finally that senator says, because of your tenacity and your commitment, I will change my stance on this bill, and I will sign it, and it will now move forward. There were 15 of us standing in the Oval Office as President Barack Obama signed that bill into law, and she was one of them. She stepped into the story of her life, a story much larger than herself. And she sat there, and I saw a tear come down her eye because she says, I'm standing here for the hundreds and thousands of young people who believe this war can come to an end and will come to an end. That's what she wanted to do, and that's what she did. Now, here's something really crucial that you need to understand, right? She didn't just want this to happen. She believed that it would happen. She believed it would happen. And what you believe is exactly what you become. There is a difference between believing and wanting. And she believed it along with myself and thousands of other people. What you believe is what you become. Now, just because the 100 troops are sent to Central Africa does not mean the war is over. Joseph KONY and the LRA are still abducting children, forcing them to do the most horrific things on planet Earth, the worst of the worst. And the reason why this war is so crucial and so timely, and why the world is in our grasp right now, is because we have to finish strong. We have to finish well. For those of you that don't know, there's a new court in the world. It's called the International Criminal Court. They are like the court of last resort, and they look around the world and they say, where are the worst things happening? Where is genocide? Where is massive human rights abuses going on? And Joseph KONY is the very first indicted war criminal by the International Criminal Court. They indicted him 6 years ago. They said, we want to bring him to justice at The Hague. because this is a human issue. The world is now globalized. And so they indicted him, but the world at large has not come to the rescue yet. We are waking up to this potential. 7 billion of us are looking around and saying, wait a minute, maybe we could or should protect each other. Maybe we should finish this story strong. The Joseph KONY is our broomstick engine. He is our broomstick. He is the thing that Oz says, bring to me. And this example is so important because it proves that it's possible. It proves that justice for all is not just a fantasy. It's real life, and we can all participate in it. We can all participate in a story much larger than ourselves. Lisa Dugan is out there in this audience. And the truth of the matter is, she is unknown. Lisa Dugan, just a few people know who she is. She doesn't have a reality TV show. She doesn't have a magazine. She didn't start her own nonprofit or business. I think the confusion in our culture for all of us is that we are so obsessed with the idolatry of magnitude. The idolatry of magnitude. Our culture has taught us, you need to be famous. You need your name in lights. You need a lot of followers on Twitter. This is what success looks like. I'm telling you the truth. Most of us are born to be anonymous extraordinaries. Behind Dr. Martin Luther King, behind Gandhi, behind Mother Teresa, were tens of thousands of hundreds of thousands, anonymous extraordinaries, doing the right thing, making the right choices, pushing a bill through Congress to get troops to free these child soldiers after 26 years of war. Some of you out there are the next president. I hope this is true. I believe this is true. You know, it says in our Constitution that we can have a 35-year-old president. We're going to do it. I'm just ready to see who's out there with the potential, and we will root for you, and we will change the system, and it'll be beautiful, and it will be amazing. Welcome to the new way we tell stories, where you don't sit and pacify yourself and escape into a land of numbness and apathy, but that you actually get off your couch and you rally for something so much larger than yourself. But you have to start with this. What you believe is what you become, and you are more powerful than you think you are. The skeptics of this generation have said, I don't think that the millennials, that the young people know what it's actually going to take to change the world. It's going to take them finishing strong. And here's the facts. This is the truth. The first generation that are called millennials this year, right now, are turning 30. 30 years old. It's old, I know. Sounds really old. But when you turn 30, you start to convince yourself that idealism, hope, change are just concepts. You step back, ask your parents, ask your grandparents, and you say, oh, I guess the world is just made this way. I guess it's a little too hard. I guess I didn't realize it would take that much sacrifice, that much commitment, that much tenacity. I didn't realize, because we're distracted by so many things. When we enter kindergarten, we don't learn calculus, right? When we enter kindergarten at 5 years old, you don't sit there and you're not taught pre-algebra, okay? We're taught 1 + 1 = 2. And most kindergartners can grasp that. 1 + 1 = 2. That is this issue. That is the Joseph KONY issue. Joseph KONY is 1 + 1 = 2. He forces young children, abducts them from their homes. He forces them to kill and eat their parents. I don't tell this to you to gross you out or shock you. I tell it to you because it's true. I've met these children who were forced to do this. 1 + 1 = 2. Joseph KONY should not allowed to be doing that anymore. And we have to prove to ourselves as humanity that it's possible. I am an advocate for clean water and shoelessness. We want to solve the shoelessness problem, and education and the environment and animal rights and everything. There's a lot to be talked about and a lot of things to be done. But I'm not talking about any of those things right now. I'm talking about 1 + 1 = 2. I'm talking about Joseph KONY in The Hague, 2012. 2011 was the year of revolution. We all saw it. From the Tea Party to the Arab Spring to Occupy Wall Street, the revolution has already begun. 2012 will be about justice. Why? Because I believe that it will be about justice, and I'm inviting you to join me and the rest of humanity to bring this warlord to justice. That's how we show him love. We say, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to do that anymore. And we, as humanity, said, it's not about the economy, it's not about politics, it's not about any of those things. It's about the human issue. If we, as Americans, truly believe that all men are created equal, does that equality stop at our borders? That just stops? I beg to differ. I truly want to know and meet all of you here, but if you remember anything from what I say, it is that you are more powerful than you think you are. Thank you for having me.